They told you that wealth is built slowly. They've just cut back on lattes, invest $500 a month and wait patiently for 40 years. Then you finally be rich. But here is the ugly truth. That is the slowest way to become wealthy. And it's a lie that's been sold to the middle class for decades. A lie that keeps people trapped, obedient and waiting for a retirement that may never come. I will never forget the first time I did the math on this compound interest thing. I was like, wait a second, I'm going to be sacrificing the small amount that I make in my paycheck right now to eventually have 1.5 million in my bank account in 40 years. I was shocked, simply because when I do the math, the promise of compound interest isn't freedom. It's a 40-year sentence. You give up your joy today, you sacrifice your income now, and in exchange, you're told one day when you're 70, you'll finally have your million. But by then, you may not have the energy, the health, or the time to live the life you've been waiting for. This isn't wealth, this is financial prison disguised as a plan. And today I'm going to show you why it's time to stop playing the slow game and how to build wealth on your terms without waiting 4 decades to finally breathe. Let's start with a story we've all been told. If you put $500 a month into an investment vehicle that earns 8% interest, in 40 years you'll have around $1.5 million. Sounds amazing, doesn't it? But here's the problem. That amazing story assumes that you're willing to work for 4 decades, give up your money every single month and wait until you're old and grey to finally touch that wealth. I remember the very first time I did the math, it felt like a cruel joke because here is the truth. When you're young, you don't have the money. But when you're older, you don't always have the health. And in between, you're expected to just grind and hope that one day, someday, it pays off. Let's be very clear, the system is not designed for you to win quickly. The banks, the brokers, the financial institutions, they're the ones who profit from this strategy. They collect their fees, their commissions, their interest every single year while you patiently wait. They're paid whether you reach your dream or not. And you're the one handing over your hard-earned money. You're the one sacrificing today, hoping that in 30 or 40 years it will all come back to you with interest. You're not just handing over dollars, you're handing over your dreams, your financial future, and your very freedom. And you're trusting that these institutions, whose priority has never been your freedom, will somehow deliver it back to you decades later. But let me ask you this, why should anyone else be in charge of your financial destiny? Why should the outcome of your life, your choices and your family's future be dependent on the performance of someone else's system? Because the truth is, they don't need you to win. They just need you to keep playing their game. Now, let's talk about the latte lie. We've all heard it. If you just cut back on your daily coffee, if you stop those little indulgences, you'll be rich. But let's be very clear, you won't. Cutting out a $5 latte will not make you a millionaire. It will make you a slightly grumpy, a slightly more deprived version of yourself, but it will not create financial freedom. And yet, this is the advice that's constantly pushed into the middle class. Why? Because it keeps you focused on shrinking your life rather than expanding your potential. It keeps you obedient, it keeps you small. Now, does that mean I encourage reckless spending? Of course not. Discipline with your money is essential. But here is the truth. Skipping your coffee isn't the thing that will change your life or make you rich. It's not the latte that's keeping you broke. What actually builds wealth is far more powerful and far less obvious. It's learning how to increase your earning power. It's creating leverage so that your money, your skills, your assets work harder than you do. It's multiplying your income in ways that don't require you to wait 40 years or deny yourself every simple pleasure along the way. I'll be honest with you, I used to fall for it too. I would second guess every tiny purchase, thinking that maybe this was the reason I wasn't moving forward financially, until one day I realized it's not the latte, it's the lack of leverage, the lack of ownership, it's the lack of creating income that scales. That was the moment I stopped obsessing over the tiny expenses and started focusing on building real wealth, because true wealth, doesn't come from deprivation, it comes from creation. And here is the biggest issue with the compound interest promise: time. We live in a world that is moving faster than ever before. Entire industries collapse in a matter of years. Companies that looked solid yesterday vanish almost overnight. Economies rise and fall, sometimes within a single decade. And yet, the compound interest model expects you to lock away your money and your future for 40 years, assuming that the world will simply remain stable until your retirement. But let's be honest, has the world ever felt less predictable than it does right now? Think about it. Technology is disrupting jobs at lightning speed. Careers that once looked secure are becoming obsolete. Even pensions and retirement accounts, the supposed safe vehicles, have proven fragile in times of crisis. So if your entire plan for freedom depends on waiting patiently for 4 decades, you're already at risk. You're putting your future in the hands of a system that doesn't guarantee stability. And you are sacrificing the one thing you can never get back: your time. And that's the cruel irony. You work hard, you wait, you sacrifice your joy, only to discover that by the time the money finally shows up, you may not have the energy, the health, or even the desire to live the life you dreamed of. So ask yourself, who do you want to be? The person who waits 40 years hoping the plan works out, or the person who takes control, who builds something in the next 3 to 5 years that can actually give you freedom now while you're still young enough, healthy enough, alive enough to enjoy it? Because waiting is not a wealth strategy. So if not lattes and compound interest, what actually builds wealth? It's this: taking control of your income. That means skills over savings. Invest in learning high-value skills that allow you to increase your income now. Assets over expenses. Instead of putting every spare dollar into the hands of banks, use it to build something valuable: a business, a digital product, a platform that generates money for you. Leverage over labor. Stop trading time for money. Create things that can scale without you working more hours. Because once you realize you don't have to wait 40 years, you stop playing the slow game. And when I first understood this, it honestly shook me to the core. I realized that for years I had been conditioned to believe that if I just handed my money over to a bank or an investment firm, they would somehow take care of my future. That if I followed the rules, stayed disciplined and waited patiently, one day, decades later, I'd finally have the freedom I longed for. But deep down, it felt wrong. It felt like I was giving away not just my money, but my power, my dreams, and the very life force. And for what? A promise on paper that might arrive when I'm 65 or might never come at all. That was the moment I decided enough. I wasn't going to wait for someone else to manage my freedom. I wasn't going to trade the best years of my life for the hope of security in the distant future. So I asked myself a different question. What can I build today that will pay me tomorrow? And that question changed everything for me. It shifted me from being a passive saver to active creator, from someone who played safe to someone willing to take brave, calculated risks. That's how I began multiplying my income, really. That's how I built streams of passive revenue that continue to flow, whether I'm working or not. And that's how I designed a life that I truly love. One where I don't wake up counting the years until my retirement, but wake up excited about the freedom I've created for myself. And that's exactly what I want for you too. To feel the same liberation, to step into that same courage, to know that you don't have to wait decades. You can claim your freedom now. So the next time you hear someone say, just cut back on lattes, just let your money sit for 40 years, one day you'll be rich. Smile politely and walk away, because I've lived through that belief. I've run the numbers and I've asked myself, is this really the life I want? To sacrifice today for a promise 4 decades away? And I'll tell you honestly, it didn't sit right with me, because wealth is not built by waiting. Wealth is built by creating, by making brave choices today, not someday. And the sooner you decide to take ownership of your income, the sooner you stop buying into the slowest, safest story ever sold to the middle class, and the sooner you step into your power to design a life where you don't just survive until retirement, but actually live fully now. That's the life you deserve, a life of elegance, freedom and choice, not a life on hold. And if this video opens your eyes, make sure to subscribe, because here I share strategies that truly work for women over 40, women who don't want to wait another 20 or 30 years, but who are ready for financial freedom now. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Have you ever fallen for the compound interest dream? Did you once believe it was the only way to build wealth? Or maybe, like me, you reached a point where you thought there has to be a better way. Share your story below, because your experience might be exactly what another woman needs to hear today. And remember, you don't have to wait for permission. You don't have to wait for retirement. Your freedom starts the moment you choose to create it.